This information you are about to hear and perhaps view, these are not necessarily the thoughts or the ideas of Gary C.Clement or the Gary Clement Radio Show podcast. We are in no way, shape, or form affiliated with the parties this story is about or was interviewed for. Parts of this content may not be owned by or the property of the Gary Clement Radio Show podcast, D2 Network Media, or any other company we are affiliated with, and this information is strictly the opinion of those being interviewed. This content is for information purposes only, and although we may make reference to various news stories, we share our own independent beliefs about the content and provide our own opinions. Please enjoy the information. Hi, my name is Gary C.Clement, and welcome to the Gary Clement Radio Show and podcast. In this episode, we are blessed to have as guest attorney and Representative Allen Buansi, representing District 56 of Chapel Hill and Carrboro, North Carolina, in the North Carolina General Assembly. The topic of discussion is why should I vote and what's at stake if I don't? Welcome, Representative Buansi. First of all, talk to us a little bit about politics here in North Carolina and what's at stake.
First of all, thank you for having me on. This year, 2024, is a big year. As many folks know, it's a presidential year. It's also a year in which we'll be electing a governor, and we'll be electing a whole host of statewide positions, from insurance commissioner to attorney general. There's going to be a lot of offices that are going to be on the ballot. There's going to be a long ballot this year. And I should say as well that on the ballot is going to be state house representative and state senate representative. State senator. These are a lot of elections, and for folks out there wondering, why does this matter? Why does it even matter that I vote? The first thing I would say is that North Carolina is a very politically evenly split state. We've got a number of elections in North Carolina that are decided by a couple hundred votes, and every vote can make the difference. In terms of what all these different positions do, I mean, they all do a variety of things, but, for example, some of the bigger profile ones like presidential, we know who the president is, we know what the president does, but folks, as they make their way down the ballot, may know less about what the governor does, know less about what a state house representative and state senator do. For those particular positions, I would just want to leave folks with this. When it comes to funding for the things that we care about, like affordable housing, when it comes to funding for public schools, and making sure that our children are going to schools that are quality and will give kids a fair shot in life, that's where the governor and the state house and the state senate can make all the difference. For example, in this past session in 2023, the General Assembly, which is made up of the majority of Republicans, passed a budget that really underfunds public schools and actually diverts about $500 million away from public schools to private school vouchers. What that's going to mean is less money for schools to be able to pay teachers, less money for schools to be able to pay for book supplies that children need. And the hardest hit schools are going to be the poor schools. And so, when it comes to looking at that ballot and why your vote matters, it matters because public schools are on the ballot, women's health care and their abilities to make choice are on the ballot. Those are the kinds of things that the General Assembly and the governor make huge decisions on. And I think that folks should keep that in mind when it comes to election time this year.
Please tell us, in your opinion, what is the greatest reason for tax-paying citizens and all those who are eligible to vote to exercise their vote this year?
Yeah, I think, there's so many things that people can think about. What comes to my mind kind of right off the bat, I'm a big history buff. My mama raised me learning about the history of our people, Black people, but also of our country, the United States. And one thing that she taught me that's consistent throughout her history is that change hasn't come without struggle. During a week like this week, where we're celebrating Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., I think pretty much all of us have heard about the struggles that Black people have had to go through when it comes to getting voting rights, when it comes to getting civil rights. And so, the thing that immediately comes to mind when I think of elections, and what my mom taught me is that there were so many people who came before us to have us be able to exercise this right to vote. This right to vote, which is the ultimate say that we have on what happens in our politics and on what happens when it comes to decision making at the highest levels. The vote is it. We can go out in the streets and march. We can protest, but at the end of the day, that right to vote is really what kind of moves the needle in terms of getting people in office who will look out for the interests of our most vulnerable and who will ensure fairness and equality for everyone.
You mentioned Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. If we had to think back about all the things that happened during the civil rights movement and the new rights and liberties that the movement afforded African Americans, women, people of color in general, that have been lost and or missing in today's society, what comes to mind?
Yeah, I mean, I think one thing that's missing, I think it's something that a lot of folks understandably get frustrated about. What's missing is seeing the results, seeing how a person's vote translates into action being taken to move us forward. And I know it can get frustrating for a lot of folks, especially our young people who, rightfully so, they want to see changes made when it comes to the environment, when it comes to the way people are treated. They want to see changes made now so that they themselves, their children, and their children's children can grow up in a country and live in a world where they've got equal opportunity, where they can pursue their dreams. And so, I guess results is one way to put it in terms of what's missing, but at the end of the day, it takes a sustained, committed, long-term effort to realize the dreams that we so badly seek. And so I would just encourage folks, understandably, I know folks are frustrated that you don't see, when you vote, in the year after and the couple years after, you're not seeing maybe the people you elect doing the things that you want them to do. At the end of the day, it's going to take a sustained effort. It's going to take, keeping on those elected officials. It's going to take keeping on voting to make a change. And I just encourage folks to continue to believe in our democracy, to continue to do the very best you can to move things forward. And it's going to take patience, but it's also going to take a long, dogged effort.
A lot of our politicians are getting older these days, and we need new blood involved. For young people looking to get into politics, what's your advice to them?
Yeah, my advice is to get involved early. So I can remember when I was back in high school, I actually got involved with my first political campaign, I think when I was about 16 years old, and I did some door knocking for a candidate who was running for U.S. Senate. And I can remember at that time that my mom said many of the things that I'm saying now in this podcast, which is if you want to make a change, you need to go out there and get it. You need to go out there and do it. That means getting out and working for candidates that you believe in. And just because you can't vote, when you're a teenager, doesn't mean that you can't have some kind of impact. And so I would encourage our young people to get involved early, to kind of survey the landscape in terms of, different political candidates that are running for office. You have a sense already about what you want to see in the world, what you want to see out of your state, what you want to see out of our country. So go ahead and look around. I mean, this is a prime year to do that. We've got a lot of candidates who are running, good and bad. So I just encourage young people to survey this landscape, look at all the different candidates who are out there, and find a candidate who kind of speaks to the kind of vision that you have. Reach out to that candidate and get to working, get to door knocking, get to phone calling, get to doing whatever it is that candidate is going to need to get into office and to realize the same shared vision that y'all have. When it comes to running for office, you're never too young to do that. So I would also encourage folks, especially with the local races like town council, like Board of County Commissioners. I mean, those are prime places for people to make a difference because those levels of government are the levels closest to the people. I mean, they do things like, making sure that folks have affordable housing. They do things like taking care of the roads and streets. They do things like fund youth community centers. And so I would also encourage young people to, if you're looking to get into public office, look really hard at those town council and board of county commissioner spots. And if you are not able to run for that office, try to see if you can get on one of those advisory boards that advises those town councils and boards of county commissioners.
Well, this has been a great conversation with a member of the North Carolina legislature. For all of you who have additional questions about North Carolina politics and the North Carolina General Assembly, you can visit www.ncleg.gov or call 919-733-4111. So in closing, Representative Buansi, is there anything that you would like to add before we go?
Just the only thing that I'll add is that, I know that this year in 2024, again, there are a lot of races that are going to be on the ballot. It's going to be a long ballot. I strongly encourage folks to make sure you go all the way down the ballot and fill in, every choice you can make. But along with that, I know that there are a lot of folks out there who are feeling apathetic and thinking like, why is it worth it to even vote when I'm not going to see the change that I want to see? I would again just stress to folks that it takes a collective. It takes you doing your part, which is voting, but it's also going to take some sustained action in trying to make sure that whomever you vote for and whomever is elected is doing the kinds of things that you care about. And so I would just say that, when it comes to engaging in politics, when it comes to voting, it's about your vote, of course, and that's probably the most important thing you can do in the political process. But it's also about you making sure you sustain your effort in some way, and to keep trying. Don't ever give up.
We really do appreciate our guests who participated in this episode, and we hope you learned something that will bless your day and your life. For all who are interested in learning more about the Gary Clement Radio Show podcast, please visit www.amazon.com and order my book, The Gary Clement Radio Show, When Strong Afro-American Men and Women Stand Up. It covers everything about us and features a variety of Afro-American personalities to speak out about the importance of education and literacy in the Black community. Well, we thank you for tuning into our podcast. Please send us your email address so we can contact you when we have new releases and new episodes and new projects as well. You can reach us at gccpresents@yahoo.com. And also, if you're interested in submitting any materials or want to get in touch with us, please do so by simply sending an email to gccpresents@yahoo.com. That's G as in Gary, C as in Charlie, C as in Charlie, presents@yahoo.com. So until next time, do take care. And this is a G